literally within a few minutes.
An Air Force Thunderbird landed at Robins on Thursday in preparation for the upcoming air show in October. Major Scott Pitts flew the distinctive red, white and blue F-16 jet around the base a few times Thursday morning before landing to speak with media. He was doing a site survey in preparation for the show to be held October 1st to 2nd. Pitts said an F-16 generates 30,000 pounds of thrust, which is more than the entire starting field of the Daytona 500. That kind of power can suck debris into the engines, so part of his visit is to check the condition of the runway area. We want to make sure your airfield is ready to go for our air show, and it is, he said. It looks great. He also was scoping out landmarks around the base that will be used as reference points during the performance. It has been a long time since Robins has seen a Thunderbird jet. The Navy's Blue Angels were the star attraction in the last air show at the base, in 2012. The Thunderbirds last performed at Robins after performing only a couple of shows in 2014 due to budget cuts. The Thunderbirds returned to a full schedule last year and are scheduled for 67 shows this year. That includes a flyover at the Daytona 500 on February 21st. The Thunderbirds are an aerobatic flight demonstration team that performs throughout the year. The team is the star attraction of this year's Robins show, which has been dubbed Thunder over Georgia. The Thunderbirds are the Air Force's official air demonstration team. Assigned to the 57th Wing, they are based at Nellis Air Force Base, Nev. They are the third oldest formal flying aerobatic team in the world, dating from 19,553. The only flight demonstration teams older than them are the United States Navy Blue Angels, formed in 1946, and the French Air Force Patrouille de France, formed in. The squadron name is taken from the legendary creature that appears in the mythologies of several indigenous North American cultures. Since 1983, its pilots have wowed crowds from behind controls of F-16 fighter jets. In March 2013, the U.S. Air Force announced that due to budget cuts, aerial demonstration team performances would cease indefinitely, effective April 2013. In December 2013, the Thunderbirds announced their 2014 schedule and the resumption of their appearances. The land today known as Scott AFB was initially leased in June of 1917, and by September of that year, it was officially established as Scott Field. Scott is the fourth oldest continuously active base in the U.S. Air Force, and the only Air Force base named in honor of an enlisted member, Frank S. Scott. Scott died in September 1912, becoming the first enlisted member of the U.S. military to lose his life in an aircraft accident. It occurred when, flying as a passenger in a two-seat plane at an Army airfield in College Park, Maryland, the plane crashed upon landing, killing both Scott and the pilot, First Lieutenant Lewis C. Rockwell. Scott Field originally served as a pilot training field during World War I and was home to a modified Curtiss JN-4 Jenny aircraft used as an air ambulance. By 1921, The mission at the field changed and Scott became a lighter-than-air station, home of balloons and dirigibles. By 1937, the lighter-than-air era ended for the entire Army Air Corps, and the War Department intended to move the General Headquarters Air Force from Langley Field, VA to Scott Field. America's entry into World War II would change that plan. The Army Chief of Staff changed Scott's primary mission in 1939, making it a communications training location. Even after the birth of the U.S. Air Force in 1947, Scott AFB would continue as a communications training installation, graduating more than 150,000 communications operators and maintenance personnel. After some initial hesitation, Joint Base Lewis McChord announced on Tuesday that it is definitely hosting an air show this summer. It'll be the first time in 4 years that the Air Force's Thunderbirds and the Army Golden Knights parachute team perform at JBLM. We're extremely pleased to bring this magnificent event back to the South Sound, JBLM Garrison Commander Colonel Daniel S. Morgan said in a news release. We're thrilled to have the Thunderbirds and the Golden Knights here again, just as they were in 2012. The Air Force announced in December that it selected JBLM as a site for its 2016 air show circuit. JBLM officials in late 2014 had requested a visit from the Thunderbirds aerial demonstration, but the base could not commit to the August 27 to 28 event until this week. In 2008, 375,000 people attended a Thunderbirds air show at JBLM. In 2012, the last time the base hosted the show, 150,000.
Literally within a few minutes.
Of the Washington Times. She got violently ill. Billed as America's ambassadors in blue, the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds are an aerial demonstration squadron assigned to the 57th Wing at Nellis. The unit performs at air shows in the U.S. and around the world to drum up support for the service. The Air Force temporarily halted Thunderbirds shows last year in response to automatic budget cuts known as sequestration. But the service resumed them this year, and officials were probably itching for more positive publicity by inviting James into the cockpit halfway into the 2014 season. The demonstrations primarily feature F-16C single-seat jets and F-16D twin-seat trainers made by Lockheed Martin Corporation. The aircraft typically reach speeds of as much as 500 miles per hour while in formation and 700 miles per hour, nearly the speed of sound, on individual maneuvers. James, who also flew on the HH-60 Pavehawk combat search and rescue helicopter and the E-8 Joint Surveillance Target Attack Radar System during her trip to Nellis, apparently without incident, took it all in stride. I also learned to wait to eat lunch until after Thunderbird practice is complete. She joked. According to the article, the Air Force is implementing a coordinated plan to resume public outreach and community engagements at a reduced capacity as a result of a multi-service working group. The plan, approved by the Secretary of Defense, promotes a formalized, joint approach to national engagement and represents a new normal for outreach operations across the services, according to Wendy Varigi, the Air Force Public Affairs Engagement Division Chief. Two popular, high-visibility programs, the Thunderbirds and Wings of Blue aerial demonstration teams, will return with full seasons. However, the Air Force will not resume a public flyover program across the country, nor will there be Air Force static display aircraft at civilian air shows. The decision was made after months of coordination between the services and is, we believe, the fiscally responsible way to reconnect with the American public, Varigi said. We may, however, see some slight modifications to the plan as the year progresses. Funeral flyovers are not affected by this plan and will continue to be coordinated through normal procedures. For the Thunderbirds, a full season will consist of 34 shows divided between civilian and military events, while the Wings of Blue Jump team will participate in up to 33 shows, including Air Force Academy football games. Schedules are expected to be confirmed in December. The Air Force 2014 outreach plan cuts overall spending by approximately 54% from the 2012 levels but still allows the Air Force an opportunity to engage with the American public. Community and public outreach is a crucial activity for the Air Force because we must connect with the people we serve and highlight the capabilities of the Air Force, said Brigadier General Les Kudlik, the Air Force Public Affairs Director. Historically, the Air Force participates in thousands of local and national events every year, including approximately 1,000 flyovers. Under the new plan, those small-scale flyovers will cease. Instead, the Thunderbirds will fly over a limited number of national-level events. To continue limited activity include Air Force bands. Because travel restrictions have been lifted, the regional bands will resume public performances across their area of responsibility and the Air Force band will go on tour as planned, though travel budgets are capped at 50% of 2012 expenditures. The Air Force will also continue to engage with local communities on a grassroots level through installation open houses, participation during sporting events and community and civic activities. Sequestration is ongoing and the department will continue to be subject to financial constraints. However, outreach activities serve to educate and reinforce public trust and confidence in the Air Force, and are essential. We understand not everyone will be happy with the plan DoD has put forth, Kudlik said. But it is vital the American people know about America's Air Force, who we are and what we do. These engagements, although limited, enable us to do that. As Langley Air Force Base celebrates its 100th year, Air Force Captain Nick Eberling can appreciate the early daredevils of the sky who formed the foundation of American air power. After all, Eberling makes his living flying upside down at treetop level just under the speed of sound with another aircraft about 3 feet away. Eberling and his fellow pilots with the Air Force Thunderbirds precision flying team roared into town Thursday in advance of Air Power over Hampton Roads, the show that begins Friday at Langley and runs through the weekend. Before landing their F-16 Fighting Falcons, the pilots performed a series of acrobatic moves to showcase their talents and to alert Hampton residents near the base that yes, the Thunderbirds had indeed arrived. Eberling is the lead solo pilot and Thunderbird number 5. As a nod to his role, the 5 on his aircraft is upside down. The concepts that Thunderbird pilots have honed to a fine edge, flying in formation, for example, were conceptualized and launched in the skies over Europe in World War I and refined by succeeding generations of pilots. Formation flying is something that goes back years, said Eberling, a native of Ashburn, Virginia. The team's maneuvers are meant to entertain, but the moves are based in combat tactics. The team's F-16s could be returned to combat within 48 hours. With some extra time built in for a new paint job. Langley is home to the 27th and 94th Fighter Squadrons, units rooted in World War I. Pilots such as Eddie Rickenbacker of the 94th and Frank Luke of the 27th are among the founding fathers of American combat aviation. They had the hard job, said Major Nick Krychek, who flies in the slot position for the team. By pushing the boundaries of technology years ago, his job is that much easier.